Hello. So in this lecture, we're going to see how to automate a radio button through Selenium. So if you go to our practice page, and here you can see there's a 3 radio button over here. The behavior of a radio button is that you can select only one radio option or button at a time. Say if I select radio 1, but if you want to select radio 3, you will see it will only select only one radio button at a time. Okay, so let's say that how we can do this. To do this, let's select or spy radio 1. Okay, if I want to select radio 1, inspect. So this is a radio 1. Okay, and here we have number of attribute. You can see there's a value attribute, there's a name, there's a class, and there's a type. Okay, let's see if I want to select radio 1, what we can use or how we can do this. Okay, let me create a class. So I already created a class. It's called radio button test. Okay, let's use our common code, which is a object of Chrome driver, and puts in a driver and web driver as a return type. Maximize the window, and this is our URL. Okay, so first things we're going to do, click on the radio 1 button. Okay, let's minimize that and go here. So radio 1, we're going to use, okay, so let's use here, the type is radio, parameter or class is another attribute, name is radio button, and value it's a radio 1. Okay, just to let you know that when you're going to use class, okay, double check with the class. It's just selecting one element or more than one. You know, in HTML, the class attribute most of the times it's used duplicate. Most of the time it's repeated, like same class attribute, the value is radio button. Probably you will find somewhere else they're using the same class attribute and with the same value. So class is a high chance to use multiple times. So check this out. So we can use over here, you know, let's use the value attribute with a radio 1. So to me, it looks like it has a chance to be this one is as a unique attribute. Okay, so if I want to do this, I'll say driver dot find element by, say, if I want to use XPath /, if I want to create the XPath, its input, it's with the tag name. All right, so I'm creating @ and what's the attribute name is a value equals to, in a single quote, the value attributes value, it's radio 1. Okay, so this is the locator for the radio 1, and then all we have to just click on there. Oh, sorry, I missed that double quote, and then it should be here, and then click. Why it's by XPath. Okay, input value equals radio 1. So by XPath, this is the value. Remove this and click. Okay, very simple. Let's save it and let's see this whether it's working or not. Run Java application. Okay, it's throwing an error. Let's see what's the error it's saying. It's saying invalid selectors. Why it's invalid selectors? Saying unable to locate an element. So this XPath is not good. Let me see what's really did wrong. Okay, so we use a value and then attribute is called value. It's a radio 1. Okay. So if we XPath /, if we put it here in our selector sub, let's see. Oh, that's where did I did a mistake. Input at the rate value equals to radio 1. If I hit enter, it's selecting that's radio 1. For some reason it didn't work up there. Let's get it here. Same thing, right? Okay. Driver to find the element by XPath. Let me run it again. Okay, this time it works. Let's maximize. You can see that's a radio 1 button got selected. Okay, that's very simple, easy. So now we'll see a little bit inside. So if you noticed the radio 1, the attribute, it has a name, class, type, and the value. If I want to show you the rest of the 2 radio buttons attribute, okay, let's select this one. You will see, let me put it a little bit up, that for the radio 2 button, there is a value attribute, same value attribute like radio 1 had, and the same name attribute, class, and the type. You see all of them are the same attribute using for the radio 2 and even radio 3. If you see over here, it's a radio 3. Name, value, class, type. And name, class, and type, these 3 attributes, even value, all of them are same, like a radio button, radio button, type is radio, except the value attributes, value is different, like radio 1, radio 2, radio 3. So if you want to use, except the value attribute, any other attribute, say class, you'll see if I want to use a class, so for if it has a class and the value is this, CSS selectors for the class is a dot, then the value of the class name. If I hit enter, you will see it will selected 3 element, and all of them has been selected. So if you use class attribute, it will give you the same response. If you use the type attribute, it will give you the same response. It will give you select the 3 elements. So if you want to select, example, radio 3 and use class attribute, is not going to be able to select the radio 3. It will select always radio 1, because the way is our driver exe file works. It started to scan when we write a code like driver.find element, and then there is a by XPath or ID, there is an attribute up there. Then that find element, that's locator, it's try to find that locator is scanning from the top left hand corner of your screen over here, right from the top, and then each and every one is crossed, each and every element, it's scan that attribute of that element and try to match our code, the locator we create in our script. And if it's a find, and then it's perform the action as per the script we write. So if I want to click on radio 3, and if I use whether it's a class, type, or name, it will always select the radio one, because radio one have all the attribute and the value is same. So it will think that we are looking for the radio one. It will never select the radio 3. So in that case, how can you, apart from using the value attribute, how can you select the radio 3? Okay, that might the question comes arise. Okay, so there is an alternate way. If you have the similar attribute and the value, same values for multiple locator, we can use alternative, we can do an alternate way, to select a specific element out of those. We can get the total number of elements, like I use the dot radio button. We can get the total number of elements, and from there we can extract the text from each and every element, running a loop, and then extract the text with our desired text. Like for the radio button 1 is radio 1, the values attribute radio, and then for 2 it's radio 2, and 3 is for radio 3, because this is the only difference parameter we can see. Okay, let's see. So let's go here. So we'll see, I will say select group of radio button, group of radio buttons, and click radio 3 on radio 3. Okay, that's what we are going to do. So select a group of radio button using the common element. So to do this, we can say, let's use, so driver dot find elements. So we're going to use elements by, say, we're going to use CSS selectors, and this is the value of the CSS selectors would be, let's use the common one. So this is for all of them, we have a class name is radio button, class name radio button, class name radio button, as we have seen. Let's use this one. So this is the common one. It's return 3 elements. It's select all of them. So let's use over here dot class name. Okay, and then let's put this one in a variable. In a variable, we can say let's rd buttons, and then what's the return type would be web element. So we have to type web element inside this bracket, web element, and the return type would be list. In one of our previous class, we have seen to use the list. Why use a list? The list, it comes from, you can see, Java util. It's an interface, and it has a lots of method, that we can use. Those methods used to add, remove, update any element in that, the list array. So list is nothing, just it comes from the Java util package, and it's help you to store multiple elements underneath a same one variable. Okay, so that's one of the very simple explanation of list. Since we're storing multiple elements in one variable, that's why we're using a list, and it's coming from the Java utils. Okay, let's import the package. Web element, import the package for the web element. Okay, good. And now radio buttons have the knowledge about all 3 locators. Okay, and now if I want to know how many locators I do have, I know it's 3, but assume that you don't want to hard code, whatever the 3, 4, 5, even 10, it's fine. It will automatically find the size of the or total number of the radio button. To do this, we can use this locator dot apply the size method. So size method will apply in this locator. So in this locator have all the radio buttons element. So it will give us a total number. So let's put this one in a count variable, so it will return in integer. So count variable have the knowledge about the total number of radio button. We can just just for our debug, we can see how many radio buttons exactly we have, is that matching or not. So we can see sysout system.out.println, we can say total radio buttons are, and pass the count variable. So count will get the total number, it will print like total radio buttons are, whatever the number, it's found over here. Okay, and apart from there, now let's we're going to use a for loop so that as many radio buttons we have, we can run our for loop that number times and extract every iteration. We can extract each and every radio button's text, and then we can compare the radio button, what's our desired one, which is the radio 3. If it's a match, we'll say click on there. Okay, so we'll say for loop, I'm initializing integer I equals to 0. Okay, and then how many times should be run? The loop should be run less than the count, because since I started from the 0, so it will count cover all the radio buttons. So if we start at 0, so it should be less than count. If it's a count radio button, it's a 3 radio button, so the loop should run 3 times from 0, 1, 2, so which is 3 times, right? And then I plus. Okay, and then what I want to do, every iteration, what I want to do, I want to extract from the first radio buttons the text from the first radio buttons so I want to extract text from the radio buttons so where is the radio buttons? This is the locator of all the radio buttons. So here is all of them. From there, I want to get the first one. To get the first one, I have to use get index number I, because when I is 0, it means it will get the first radio button, first one. And I want to get the get text. Okay, you will see get text. Here is one thing, the get text, we know this, it's extract the text from the locator, from this locator. But here we cannot use get text method. The reason why, let me show you. If I noticed over here is a radio button 1, or whatever the radio button, all of the radio button, the HTML code, it's started with the input tag. And is there any, for this line, is there any closing input tag? No. For the second one is input tag, there's no closing. For the third one, it's no closing for the input. Usually, when you write your code, you can see this, it started with the opening tag like label, and you can see there is a closing label everywhere. And here you can see the field set opening tag, and here is the closing. But here for the radio button is only the exception that they didn't use or create any closing tag for input. That's number one condition. And also, if all of them use the same attribute like called value, that time also we're discouraged to use the getText method. Especially the getText method is not going to use when you have a open tag and there is no corresponding closing tag. Okay, let's see. And instead of that, then how we can get the text? Instead of getText method, we can use getAttribute method. Here you can see there is a difference between getText and getAttribute method. GetAttribute, and inside there is a string attribute name. So we are going to use one of the attribute name, like a value attribute, and in a string format, and get attribute, then it will get that attribute, and is used to retrieve a given attribute value. So whatever the attribute we're going to put up there inside underneath the get attribute, the value of that attribute it will get. And getText is used to retrieve inner text on a web element. So here, also you can see in this HTML tag, there is no inner text for this radio 1. Over here, opening input tag, and there is no closing input tag. That's number 1 condition. Also, there is no inner tag. Like it's a type is radio, so this is not inner text. The inner text, it should be something like that. If I show you, if I inspect this, you can see here is complete. This is the LinkedIn profile. So this is an inner text. This is within our like a tag, and there is a closing tag between that. There should be inner text. But for this radio button, we don't have any inner text like this right over here. All of them has its attribute and the value. There is no inner text. Okay, this radio 1 is not part of over here because it's not within a closing tag. So there is no closing. The inner text should be between open and closing tag, right? So there is no inner text. So when you don't have inner text, as well as you don't have a closing tag, then you have to use getAttribute method instead of getText method. Hopefully it's clear. Okay, and when you use getAttribute method, inside the as a parameter of a getAttribute method, we have to pass one of the attribute, like the value attribute, and then this values attribute, it will extract this values attribute. So in this case, we're going to only use this value attribute because this is the only the values attributes value, this radio 1, this is the only the unique text we can see, unique output we can see. Other than rest of them are all the attributes values are same, right? So we're going to use that getAttribute method, and we'll pass the value attribute. Okay, so let's see, this is, so we'll use the radio 3 value. Let's go here. So we'll use getText instead of getText. We'll use getAttribute. You can see it's a string name, so it's expect, and it's a web element, so it's string. So in a string format, we're going to pass the attribute name. Attribute name is value. Okay, and then let's put this one, and then we'll let's put this one in a variable. So this getAttribute value will get the value. So we'll get the value, value from following the index number 1. So for the first radio button, it will get the text from the value attribute, and we'll put it in a variable. It's called it's a radio button. Okay, this is a radio button, and this is radio buttons. Okay, radio button, and then it will be a string, return a string, because this method is returning a string. Okay, so, and now I can say if let's put it if this radio button, whatever the will get the value of this the value attribute from the first radio, that text, if this is equal signal case, it's an equal signal case, equals, you can use equals or equal signal case. I prefer equal signal case. That time there will be no problem differentiate between the lowercase uppercase. If radio button this equal signal case equals to what we're looking for, radio 3, right? Isn't it? Radio 3. For the last one is the radio values, the value attributes value is radio 3. So we're looking for this one, because this one will get the values of the values of the value attribute. So we're going to compare it the same. Radio 3, if it's a match, then we'll click on that button and we'll take a break. Okay, we'll jump out from the loop. So that time we'll say, out of this radio button, from there, following the index number, out of this radio, all the 3 radio buttons following the index number, whatever the index number following over here, we found the match, the same index number, we'll use over here. Out of all the total radio buttons following the same index number, we'll say let's click up there. Okay, let's click up there. So we'll click up there, and then it means it is our desired. If it's a match, it means it is our desired radio button we're looking for, and then we can, you know, we can use a break. You can use a break, or yeah, we can use a break. Okay, it will jump out from our from our loop, or we can do another assertion. Okay, let's run this. Let's see that whether it's working or not. So it will select radio 1 first, then it will select radio 3. Yeah, you see, it was selected radio 1, now it's radio 3 is selected. Okay, if you want, you can put some thread to slips after the radio 1 here, so you can see it will take a little bit time. It will be slow down the execution. You can see it's selected radio 1, and then it will select radio 3. Okay, thread dot slip. Let's put a slip, say I would say 3 seconds, so 3 milliseconds. Okay, hover mouse, input the select add throws declaration. Okay, and now what you can do also, we can do another check over here. So here it's selected, we have seen is selected radio 3. How your code can ensure the radio 3 button was selected or not? Let's put a comment over here. Instead of break, we can do another verification also, validation also. So there is a method in Selenium, it's called isSelected. So isSelected, it's a Boolean method. It's return always true or false. Okay, isSelected method always return true or false. Let me just make a comment here. We'll say, okay, use isSelected method. Use isSelected method will return Boolean, like a true or false. Okay, so if following this code, if this button got really selected, the isSelected method will say is return is it true, because this isSelected method is applied based on our just the last line, you know, in our code. So this isSelected method will return true if this code is true. It means if this click method able to click or select this radio button. Okay, so to do this, we can say, we can write again the same code here. At the dot is selected, you can see is selected is display. There is a similar type of method is display, is enable, is selected. We'll have a separate video where we can explain difference between is displayed, is enable, is selected, and use case. For now, is selected we're going to use for the radio button. So this will, if this in this locator, it means out of all the 3 button, following the index number we use over here, the first one or the second one, whatever the number is match, and that button was clicked. And over here, we right now after this line, it's supposed to be click the radio button 3, and this is selected method will apply the 3rd radio button, and we'll see is this selected, it means clicked or not. If it's a clicked, truly clicked, it's supposed to return true. It's supposed to return true. Okay, we can see this output through this line. It's supposed to return true. We can see the output whether it's true or not over here. Let's put this one in a system.out.println. How about this? Sysout. Okay, let's put this code inside there. So this will return, supposed to return true, and that true should print over here because I put this one in a print statement. Okay, in that case we cannot use break, because if you use the break, it will jump out from the loop. You can put the break after that. Let's put the break after that. So it will say true, and then it will jump out from the loop, so we don't need any more of the loop. Let's run it. radio button was selected and radio 3. Okay, and one thing probably you notice that the screen still is minimized, because even though we use the maximize code, because it's populate when I execute on my other screen, so it get maximized up there. When I drag the screen over here, it's changed them from maximize to minimize. That's why, but it will work on your screen when you are going to follow the code and do the same execution. Okay, so let's close it, and then you can see total radio button at 3. So total radio button here we have seen, where is the total radio button we use here for this statement. Total radio buttons are whatever the count got 3, so it's a 3, and here is a print statement for this line, the 2. Okay, so it means it was selected. This locator, the button in this locator was selected, and it's written true. Okay, so that's it for now. Thank you.